Dogland and run with the power pups. Got to love their style and how they never, ever, ever give up. Who loves dogs? Who loves dogs? We rise to any challenge, and no one here is average. We are the power pups. You know we'll ever, ever, ever give up. Dogs, dogs, you love dogs. Dogs, dogs, you love dogs.
Hello and welcome to episode 12, season 2 of the Adventures of Power Dog and Dogland. There's mushroom in my heart for you.
Aww. You may remember when our story left off that the dogs had tumbled off of the sky dragons onto a ba-ba-ba-da-ba trampoline and then onto the beach where they met and freed the golden cat named Roger. And it was such a good thing because Roger seemed to be able to answer a lot of questions about the troubling phenomena that had created the very emergency they had found themselves dealing with. Roger had been trapped in a mean enchantment, but speaking his true name had broken the spell and freed him from being locked in shiny golden statue mode. He'd told them of the bad cats on Meowie, whom he knew to be the perpetrators of the Rainbow Bubble Dome as a type of cage to hold the entire island of Meowie hostage. This information was also very validating for Fetcher, who'd been trying to make sense of the dramatic scene he'd witnessed that night when he was in stealth mode trespassing on Meowie. Roger had warned them, too, that the bad cats were in league with a bad dragon without a name but called the Namer. Roger and Butaba had just had a quick meeting of the minds when Taffy, who had also connected with Baba earlier, uncontrollably blurted out, "The night cows!" Roger's golden eyebrows shot up in surprise at this, and he chuckled. Yes, we call them something slightly different, but I could see how Baba might call space the night. Power Dog asked both of them, "Night cows? Space?" Roger smiled. "So, there is a cow planet. It's called Cowlitz, just so you know. And these cows travel the whole universe. Baba saw them flying through your corner of space, which we call the Dogmos, on several occasions, in fact. Their means of travel is, well, quite amusing." Taffy turned and looked at Baba and thought, "Wow, you have so much more to share." Baba gurgled and wiggled in her direction in a manner that she understood to be friendly, like when a dog wags their tail so hard it moves their back end almost uncontrollably. Chondro asked, "This cow planet, Cowlitz, is it far? Are you saying the cows can take us to Draconis? Do you have a way to contact these night cows?" Roger nodded with each question and took a moment. "Well," he continued, but Power Dog, thinking briefly about Lupo stealing the comet dragon, interjected with the cows and their amusing form of transportation allow dogs to ride with them? I mean multiple dogs, so we could all go together. I would really like it if we could all be together." He desperately did not want to be separated from his pack. Roger nodded again. "You're each going to need a smushroom to summon a night cow, maybe even 2. And you're going to have to wait outside the portal where they will be able to sense the smushrooms." "Smushrooms? Portal? Do you mean mushrooms?" questioned Power Dog. "Portal?" asked a very wary Taffy. She did not like the sound of this. Roger smiled, nodded, and very patiently said, "No, I mean smushrooms. Do you not know that all the magic and energy in our entire universe runs on dragons and smushrooms?" The dogs just stared blankly. They most certainly did not know this. "Well then, smushrooms are like mushrooms, but they are units of energy. The Abbas use them to power their lantern orbs, and they also happen to grow them. And the Abbas chose Doggerfalls not only because of the lava there, but also because behind Doggerfalls there is a portal. It's a place where the veils of space and time are thin and fold into each other in such ways that anything or anyone might reach out to each other. Then, using the energy of smushrooms, you might even travel through a portal. But for you dogs, you will need a cow to come to you to carry you all the way to Draconis. Wow, said Fetcher. This is really wild. Power Dog asked, so we would all ride on a cow? Tuffy looked nervous and asked, what is a cow? Roger walked over to Baba Budaba and put a paw up to an appendage. Roger purred and Baba gurgled. Roger turned to the dogs and said, the Abbas do have enough smushrooms to share and would be thrilled to help all of you. Chondro, whose deeply furrowed brow indicated they'd been thinking very hard this whole time, spoke up and asked, could there be enough power in these smushrooms to just break that rainbow bubble dome or even get a message through it to the hostages inside? Roger considered this and said, oh, I do not know, but I think this is worth a try, and it would be an honor for me to be able to work with you on this. Chondro nodded and said to the others, I would like to do everything I can to pursue my nibbling across the stars, but I would also like to try to reach the inhabitants of Meowie first. Power Dog nodded, looked at the group, and said, we got this. You and Roger stay here, and we will work together to follow Lupo to Draconis. Yes, added Fetcher, we will do everything we can to bring Lupo home and get the help of the good dragons. Everyone nodded, and the good feeling of having the beginning of a real plan started to make them all feel rooted and connected. Abba gurgled and drifted back toward the Doggerfalls caves, and so they followed. Seely hollered, I'll see you there. I'm taking the water tunnel route. Roger and Chondro led the way, hopping from rock to rock toward the newer cave entrance in the side of the mountain. All of the pups scrambled to keep up. They entered the great cave of Doggerfalls and stared in awe as they slowly turned all the way around to look at this massive cathedral of a cave, with one entire wall covered in a marvelous waterfall that looked as if it had an entire layer of rainbows pouring out over the top of the falling water. It was truly breathtaking. It never gets old, said Seely, who was emerging from a warm pool at the bottom of the falls. Wow! Was all Power Dog, Fetcher, Tuffy, and Taffy could say, but they did say it in unison. None of them had been inside since the day the Abbas came to Dogland and saved them from their volcano. The entire Abba family was now hovering up above the falls, keeping their distance from the dogs, but also watching the dogs eagerly. Budaba floated down with their appendages just filled with big, brown, wet mushrooms and laid them out in front of the dogs and Roger, who bowed graciously to Budaba and said, yes, so many smushrooms. This is really quite fantastic. Let's take some behind the falls, and that will summon a galactic cow. They all watched, wide-eyed, and then followed as Budaba took the smushrooms and carried them to the side of the falls, and then they could see there was another small cave and a carved-out path allowing them to walk right behind the gigantic, glorious waterfall, and so they all entered together. It was magical, beautiful, and loud. But once they got to the center, they saw a pool of sideways water on the wall behind the falls, and suddenly it was very, very quiet. Roger nodded at the pool, pointed a paw at the ground in front of it, and Baba Budaba set the smushrooms down on the ground in front of the pool in the wall. Taffy reached out to touch the sideways pool, but Roger shook his head no at this, and Chondro reached out to pull her paw back. They all held their breath just a little and stared at the pool and waited. Nothing was happening at first, and then, after quite a bit of time waiting and wondering, they heard a most unmistakable and incredibly loud version of a very familiar and ridiculous sound. All right, that's it for now. We will continue this story in our next episode. Now I'm joined by my 7-year-old co-author. Love you so much. Hank, anytime that we bring up Doggerfalls, I think of when we went to Silver Falls, Oregon, where we went camping, and you can walk around behind a bunch of really incredible waterfalls. Do you remember anything about Silver Falls?
Yeah, you can throw. You could throw like fish food through the waterfall. If fishes even live in there.
If they even live in there. The water might be too rowdy for fishes. Huh.
What about salmon? They go up waterfalls.
That's true. Salmon are amazing. Okay, are you ready for a joke?
Yeah.
What kind of room has no doors or windows?
A mushroom.
Thank you, listeners. If you liked what you heard, you can see more content at our website, PowerDogAdventures, all one word.com. There you can sign up for our infrequently emailed newsletter and also submit any good dog jokes. And we'll be forever grateful if you feel like telling your friends about the show, too. If you are looking for more great shows, then please check out the other members of Kids Listen, a grassroots organization dedicated to high-quality audio for kids and families. There are well over 100 great shows to find there. Ask your grown-up to check out kidslisten.org to find out more. Special thanks to our creative partner, the inimitable Jason Rourke, who makes these stories sound extra good with his wise counsel, recording, sound design, and even original music. This podcast has been made possible in part by funding provided by the Regional Arts and Culture Council in Portland, Oregon. Thank you, RAC. It has been made even more possible by listeners like you. Thank you so much for your support, and extra big thanks to our Patreon patrons who get early access to all of our episodes ad-free, as well as goodies and merch and birthday shout-outs at any level of support. We are not joking even a little when we say we could not do this without you. The Adventures of Power Dog and Dogland is created in the ancestral lands of the Cowlitz, Multnomah, Kathlamet, Clackamas, Tumwater, Tualatin Kalapuya, Wasco, Molalla, Watlala, bands of the Chinook, and other indigenous nations and tribes of the first people who made their homes along the rivers here in what is now called Portland, Oregon. And special thanks to our own Granny and Gramps who helped us write and record our Power Dog theme song that you'll hear at the end of the episode. Hey, Granny and Gramps, what key did y'all say that's in?
It's in D for Dogland. Till they're done. Power dog, you won't give up. When we're chasing danger and we're riding across the seas, sure he's right there leading us up, barking with the seals. Power dog, you won't give up. Power dog, you won't give up. Chase his problems till they're done. Power dog, you won't give up. When we're chasing trouble and we're riding across the stars, sure he's right there beside us, just holding our paws. Power dog, you won't give up. Power dog, he won't give up. Chases problems till they're done. Power dog, he won't give up. When we're chasing trouble and we're zooming through the stars, sure he's right there beside us, just a zapping near and far. Power dog, he won't give up. Power dog, he won't give up. Chases problems till they're done. Power dog, he won't give up. When we're plugging a volcano or we're straddling a storm, Power dog is right beside us at every little turn. Power dog, he won't give up. Power dog, he won't give up. Chases problems till they're done. Power dog, he won't give up. At night his fennec foxes, in the days his platypuses. We herd 'em up and whoop 'em down. Our dog's right beside us. Come with me to Dogland, we've got special tales to tell. And when we come together, all our tails will wag as well. So come with me to Dogland, we've got special tales to tell. And when we come together, all our tails will wag as well. Woof, woof, wow.